Plan for the worst, hope for the best. Now, it's currently 20 past 10 at night. I'm sitting here doing some work on my laptop, and I was just thinking about like video ideas and things I can talk about and things I've learned. And I'm just thinking through situations that have happened in the last few months or the last year, and just trying to find lessons in these things that have happened, good, bad, whatever it is. And I come up with a few ideas, I wrote a few things down, but the one thing that I saw came up in every one of these ideas, every one of these situations, is that I was always better off when I had a plan for the worst, hope for the best mentality. When I was prepared for every outcome, when I was ahead of the game, when I had backup plans, when I had things set aside for the worst, when I was like, I hope it goes well, but just in case I'm gonna do this, 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 and this. I have this plan B, I have this safety net, right? But I was always much better off when I had these like safety nets. Now, for example, I've told this little story before. Back in, I think, July or August, maybe or September of last year, probably August, I was going to TAFE, which is like the Australian version of college, 3 days a week, and I was working about 3 days a week as well at my job. And actually, no, this was well before that. This was probably June or July, I think, actually. So I was still in school at this point, and I was working weekends. And so I was working the 2 days, which was about 16 to 17, 17 hours. And I was doing my 17 hours, I was making $800 or $900 a month. And then all of a sudden, it starts to get to winter, business starts to quiet down. And so me, along with a couple of other guys, get our hours sort of cut down, right? So I went from doing 17 hours a week to getting about 4 or 5. So I had about a quarter of my hours. Just overnight, I had a quarter of the money, right? I went from making $800 or $900 a month to like $200 a month, just overnight. And that night I was sitting here at my desk, and I was just looking at my bank app on my phone. I was thinking, like, I've been working at this place now for like 5 or 6 months, and I have like $150 in my bank account. Like, I have just had my, like, I didn't have rent to pay at that time. I had nothing. I was sort of just, I didn't really need the money. But I was like, I have 25% of my income now. I went from making, we'll say, $800 a month to about $200 a month, just overnight. I would be screwed if this was if I was a little bit older or I had rent to pay. Like, if that happened now, I'd be in a bit of a sticky situation. But like, this was probably 7-8 months ago. Overnight, I was like, I'm not making much money. Between my gym membership, a few subscriptions, and I'm trying to invest half my income, so I'm already basically now, I have no money. That money is gone. I have $150. I've been working for like 5 months. And since that point, for the next 6 months, every single paycheck, I put a certain amount aside to savings that I wouldn't touch. I had a new spending account. I was on my budget. I'd take a bit, $50 or $100 out in cash. So I was trying to get to $1,000 cash savings, trying to get to $1,000 in the bank account, trying to get money set up for different things. And I quite, over the next few months, I had all these different accounts. I had this new budget. I had, savings for my car, savings for meal prep, all these sort of different things that I have now that I was preparing for. So I'm still doing all this to this day. But I instantly started saving money. I started putting money aside. I had an emergency fund. I had I had some cash savings. I was putting more money into different crypto. I had emergency fund, bank account, car money. I just instantly thought, okay, I need to be prepared for a situation like this to happen again. I remember I was out in the backyard and I was planning how much I'm going to put to every every account, every paycheck, what I need to start, which savings account I need to open, which crypto wallet I want to use, all these different things. And I immediately, within a matter of days, had a new plan set up, written out, that I stuck to for, I was doing that thing, taking cash out, doing a certain amount of this, certain amount of that. for that exact same plan without updating it for probably 4 or 5 months. And you know, in the next couple of months after this happened, or about literally probably a few weeks after this happened, I dropped out of high school, went to TAFE, eventually dropped out of TAFE a few months later, started working full time, and now I have rent to pay, and then this and that, and different bills, you know, more car things to pay for. So quite quickly after that, almost every paycheck, the budget was updated then, because I had new things to pay for, different things to do. But I stuck to that same regimen, the same sort of rigorous budgeting to this day. Not because I necessarily have to put every single dollar. I'm sure if I spent an extra $30 a week, I probably would be fine. I just have less in my savings account. But I am so prepared. Like, if that had to happen again right now, I'd be perfectly fine. I have people who I know I can go and work for. Okay, for example, if I were to say lose my job today, I have enough money saved up that I'd be fine for a couple months. I would be able to get a new job somewhere else in a matter of days. Like, I know I'd be perfectly fine. I'm not rich, I've not made a bunch of money, I've not got like 100 grand, but I've got a little bit of resources behind me, a good plan that I've stuck to, and I'd be perfectly fine. But when this happened 8-9 months ago, I had $150, and that was it. And so that was just one instance where I learned, yet again, plan for the worst, hope for the best. I hope that, you know, I keep my job, I get more hours. I love my job, I think my job's really good. I like my job, right? And I get decent hours. You know, at the moment I get about 40 hours a week. It's not bad, right? 35, 40 hours a week. I like my job. But if I were to say lose my job today, I would be perfectly fine, right? I'd be perfectly fine. It's very simple. It's not going to be hard. You can build up these plan Bs. You can be prepared for bad situations quite easily. Whether it's losing your job, whether you get injured, whether a family member gets sick, think of all the things that could go wrong in your life and figure out what would you do if that happened, and how would you prepare for that? How would you prepare to lose your job? How would you prepare to get scammed and one of your accounts get drained? How would you be prepared for, you know, some huge bill to go in? How would you be prepared for, you know, you get an injury? How would you be prepared for, you know, someone needs your help for something? Like, think of all the things that could go wrong in your life and plan for them, right? If you have to move out of where you live today, what would you do? Do you know someone where you can move in? Do you know a guy who's renting out, he has a spare apartment or a spare room? Do you know, maybe you have a car you can sleep in? Like, do you have a plan? You need to plan for things. Now, obviously, depending on your certain situation, there's more or less things that could, sometimes maybe if you're 14, you probably don't have to be worried. Maybe, but most likely you don't have to worry about, paying rent or getting kicked out. Maybe, you never know. But, you probably don't have to worry about that. Or, paying your home loan. Right? If you don't own a house, you don't have to pay for a home loan. There's certain things you don't have to worry about. But think of the things that could go wrong in your life. And think about, how do I prepare? Just a little bit. Like, you don't have to be some kind of doomsday prepper. But just be like, if everything were to go wrong, could I last like a month? Right? Could I just do nothing about it and it would be fine for a month? If I were to get injury, if I lose my job, if the home loan or something, whatever could go wrong, could you last at least a month? Because I probably, if everything in my life were to go wrong right now, I'd probably be okay for at least a month. Right? I know I've got places I could go, I've got money saved, I've got, different things, cash, bank account, crypto, different stuff. I'm not saying I'm some rich dude, but I've got very basic, very simple plans that you could make too. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. Stay prepared, stay ready for everything, and at that point, when things come your way, when unexpected things happen, when bad things happen to you, it doesn't really affect you, right? You get some random, your car breaks down and you owe $800 to get it fixed. Do you have that $800? You pull an injury and you can't, go to the gym for a month. Are you going to be able to still, eat in the right way and still get exercise and whatever? Like, whatever it is, plan for the worst, hope for the best. See you tomorrow.